You're tuned into the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast, brought to you by XenoPucks. Here are your hosts, Andy and Brian Matusi.
Welcome back to the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast for our season opener for season 2 of our show. As always, this show is presented by XenoPucks. Not only is today the start of our new season, it is also your wife's birthday today, so we want to give her a big birthday shout out. Kristen, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And for those who don't know, we'll give her a little bit of credit. She did some behind the scenes stuff for this show last year, especially when it came to getting it up and running. So thank you for that, and happy birthday.
Yeah, happy Kristen's birthday to those who celebrate.
Which should be everybody.
Yeah, it should be. All right, so how was your summer, if you can call it that? It was really like
6 weeks.
Actually, it was about 2 full months, really. The only show we did was when we came back for Johnny Hockey, which I don't want to say that was a show. That was more of a in memoriam. But yeah, how was your summer?
It was pretty good. Stayed busy mostly because of work. Definitely dehydrated in the sense of not having any hockey. So that was rough, but it was an overall good summer. It went by a little too quick for my liking, but now we're coming up on my favorite time of the year. We got football going on. Baseball playoffs are coming up. Hockey's starting. That's the most important thing. And it's fall weather out. Well, it's supposed to be fall weather outside. It's like, I don't know, probably almost 80 degrees right now.
I'd say it's supposed to be 80 by us today too, but oh well, we'll survive.
In theory, it should be fall weather outside.
So yeah, training camp started this past Friday. First preseason games are this Saturday night, so we are finally going to start seeing some pucks on the ice here. I know the rookie tournaments have been going, but it's kind of hard to get invested watching any of the action when half the guys are probably never going to see a lick of NHL time.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're that desperate for hockey, it's something, I guess. But for me,
the people who should, yeah, exactly. I'm good waiting till preseason. I mean, I don't mind watching the highlights, but unless your team is in the pits and you have a lot of really hot young prospects that are coming through the pipeline, watching the rookie tournament is just kind of, at least for me.
Yeah,
but it's also weird to see a bunch of guys in your team's jersey, and it's like, God, like I said, well, not even that. It's like half of them will never put this sweater on in a regular season game anyways, but that's beside the point. It is good to see some action on the ice, but I'm ready for preseason to start here and start getting some of our favorite names out on the ice and get ready for what will surely be another exciting season of NHL hockey.
100%.
So speaking of another exciting season of hockey, we have a couple different things I want to address before we kind of move forward here. The first is that the AHL is switching their streaming platform to Flow Hockey. So for those of you who don't know, Flow Hockey has already existed, the streaming platform for hockey. It's a subscription-based service. You can watch, I think they have like 10 different leagues that you can stream, but most people are watching it for the semi-pro leagues or the amateur, or not semi-pro, the minor leagues like ECHL and the USHL. Now the AHL will be streaming on this platform as well. Again, it's a subscription-based service. I think it's $150 a year, I think was the subscription, but you get HD access to all AHL games, ECHL, USHL, and you get a bunch of other leagues below it. You get some U18 leagues and stuff like that. So kind of a cool option. I believe some college leagues are streaming through here as well, or some divisions of college hockey are streaming through here. I don't think the Big Ten is streaming through there, which kind of sucks because the Big Ten is that, and the Big Ten's like one of the biggest college hockey program or divisions, if you could call it that. So kind of sucks that I don't see their name anywhere on the website. I'm kind of scrolling through it right now, trying to see if I see them, but I don't see Big Ten. I assume Big Ten's rights are held by the Big Ten Network, and that's why you can't get them through this. But for the AHL, it's great. The streaming was always pretty good through AHL TV. You got unlimited access to regular season and playoffs. Problem was the broadcast quality was really not that great, and apparently the aim with this program is to have a better HD stream. So I don't know how true that is, but we'll see. It'll offer fans a one-stop shop for all their minor and junior hockey needs.
I'm interested to see how that works, and I know I've talked to you about this before. I actually have a a buddy of mine here. He's the broadcast, and let me rephrase that. He is no longer, but he was up until this coming season, the broadcast engineer for the Cleveland Monsters. So I kind of want to pick his brain a little bit about that, see what all that entails, and hopefully get him on the show even at some point this year. Because he's got some pretty cool stories, and I think he'd make a great episode for this show.
Yeah, that would be sweet. At some point, we need to have Ben Polacco on again, too, or see if we can try and squeeze him in before the season starts. But that's beside the point right now. Another thing that we promised we were going to come back for during the summer was the announcement of the PWHL names. Well, as luck would have it for us, they didn't announce the names until the week before we came back for season 2 anyway. So the PWHL announced the 6 names and logos of the 6 teams in the league. We have the Boston Fleet, the New York Sirens, the Minnesota Frost, the Ottawa Charge, the Montreal Victoire, and the Toronto Scepters. Thoughts on the names? Thoughts on the logos?
Not the first thing I want to say real quick before we get into that regarding the New York Sirens. They're playing in New Jersey. I don't know what it is about New York teams wanting to play in the state of New Jersey. I don't get it.
Probably just access to better facilities.
Maybe. Prudential Center. Beautiful arena. You can't argue that. One of the newer arenas in the league too. So
they got that big ass scoreboard there.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll sell it out. It's just, it's the same thing over in the NFL with the Giants and the Jets. They both play in New Jersey, but they're New York teams. So
yeah, for them, I get it because it's not exactly easy to find real estate to build or to have a football stadium in New York City. Most of the commercial real estate's already taken up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never looked at it like that.
And for the Sirens, I do get it only because they can't play at MSG. They just can't.
Oh no!
There's already two major sports teams that play there. It's already kind of a shit show. It's the world's most famous arena, so they always have concerts and events. And squeezing in something like this, which unfortunately is not to the point yet where it'll probably sell out every night like the Rangers and the Knicks do. I don't know how the Knicks do, but they do. Until they get to that point, I don't think playing in MSG will ever be a viable option for them.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. You brought up what I think is the biggest point, that MSG is the most popular. I wouldn't even say arena, absolutely, but I say top 3 most popular venues in the world, in my opinion. So, yeah, it makes sense. But I digress back to what your original question was. I love the name New York Sirens. I think it's appropriate because if you've ever been to New York, that's all you hear. The name, the Victoire, I'm not going to I just don't like anything Montreal hockey. I'm just.
Not even that. The name, I just don't like the name because what happens if you lose? You're going to say the Victoire lost the game.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sounds stupid. But I want to shout out the Steve Dangle podcast here. I was listening to their episode on this the other day, which was aptly titled September, which I thought was hilarious. But they talk about just in general how a lot of sport teams, a lot of even NHL teams have really stupid names when you really look at them. Mm-hmm. But it's not necessarily, the name isn't as important as the heritage associated with it. I mean, you think about the Minnesota Wild as a perfect example. It's just wild. I mean, it's wildlife, forests. I get that. Boston Bruins. They mentioned how many times have you heard somebody refer to a bear as a Bruin? Montreal Canadiens. I mean, Canucks. I mean, Canadians and Canucks kind of reference kind of the same thing as far as you're referencing a person from Canada. Now, I guess the difference between Canadiens and Canucks is that the Canadiens refers to people of French descent from there, or whatever the case may be. But again, it's not necessarily so much about the name as the heritage with the team, as the colors on the jersey, as the logo on the jersey. So some of these names I don't think are great. I'm not a fan at all of Ottawa Charge. I think that's a really boring name and logo. Yeah. But again, if they become a program that builds a history of winning, nobody cares. Again, Steve Dangle podcast references in baseball, there are 2 teams named after Sox. I mean, and the Red Sox are one of the most well-renowned organizations in the sport thanks to their run the last 20 years. Yes. But I mean, it is what it is. It's all about if you win. If you win, nobody gives a shit what your name is.
Right. And I will say, I mean, generally speaking, especially these are our inaugural 6 teams. For them just starting off, I think everything ultimately is fine. I don't want to sit here and just absolutely rip things apart because there's no reason to. I think obviously you and I both root for the Minnesota Frost. I like the logo. I like the name. I think generally for all 6 teams, everything is fine and will be fine moving forward. Like you said, if you win, nobody gives a shit. So,
Yeah.
or I mean, some people might, because there's always some people that are
There's
just
always
jaded.
curmudgeon. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, I like everything. I do like Boston's logo actually.
With
I
the
like the name.
anchor.
Yeah, I do like it. So I think they did a good job. I like that they played a full season and gave themselves time to plan things out and look into things, kind of like you, or exactly like Utah is doing.
Yes.
this
And by the
season as
way, a
well.
quick aside, can people shut the fuck up about Utah not having a name? Every post I see about them on social media is, wow, the name and the jerseys are boring. As if they're not going to roll out new designs next year. I would
Yeah.
get it if this is what they were sticking with. I could see the point there, but can you just shut the hell up for one season? I mean, for God's sakes, we have a team called the Golden Knights, probably one of the worst names in the league. But again, it doesn't matter because they win. One of the stupidest names in the entire league, Golden Knights.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter. Give them a chance to make something like now. Seattle hit it right on the head. I think Kraken's one of the best names. They got beautiful jerseys. Vegas has great jerseys too, for what it's worth, but the name just sucks. But give these teams a chance, and who knows, down the road, some teams may rebrand in the PWHL. And I personally don't like any of the 6 logos. The names are all okay, except Ottawa. I really don't like Charge. That's kind of a
that's
name.
probably my least favorite one.
Victoire is actually it will be cool if they win a lot. But the 5 remaining names are all pretty good. I'm just not crazy. Boston's probably got the best logo. I just think the anchor with the water inside of the B shape, I think, is pretty cool. But the rest of them kind of are uninspiring to me. But again, these are the first logos. They'll grow over time. You build heritage. Eventually, none of it matters if you win.
Right. I mean, nothing's perfect coming out of the gate ever with anything in life, not just this. So back to the logos, though, one thing I do want to say is it looks like all of them were made by AI.
Let me see. Hang on. I have the
Yeah.
logos in front of me. That's why I keep looking away from my camera.
Yeah. It all looks like AI stuff.
I can see why you'd say that. That is very
like, and I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't.
They definitely look like EASHL logos.
Yes.
For those of you who play the NHL video games, they definitely look like the default logos.
100% yes.
So but that's okay. Again, they could grow and evolve over time. I mean, go look back at the original 6 logos for the NHL. I mean, a lot of those logos kind of looked clunky. Even Montreal, who's is largely unchanged since their inception, was kind of clunky. It wasn't very symmetrical. It just kind of was sloppy. But again, it evolves over time. You refine things, you perfect them. I got something in my eye. Holy shit.
All right, now it looks like it's your finger.
Well, thank you for that divine wisdom. But yeah, so these have room to grow. I mean, they may not be perfect now, but give them a chance. Again, ultimately, the product on the ice is the most important thing. And from all accounts, last season was amazing for this league. So let's just hope it continues to grow. And hopefully the names are an afterthought. It's good that there are names to put to the teams now. I think that's more important. Having names for the teams is more important than all of the names being perfect too. So I was tired of calling them PWHL Minnesota and PWHL Boston. It's good to have names for these teams. Every sports team should have a nickname. It drives me a little nuts that soccer does not do that for most of their teams. That would drive me absolutely bananas, but maybe that's just the American in me.
We'll find out. Either way, man. I'm excited. I'm happy with the way things are going right now. It was I say great, successful first season for the PWHL. I think sky's the limit from here.
I think so too. I want to really quick go back to the Flow hockey thing before we move on. I've seen a lot of complaints about Flow hockey and that, well, I don't want to pay all this extra money now because I guess AHL TV was significantly cheaper if you got the subscription for just your team or you did just the road games. You yourself know this as a season seat holder for an AHL team. You get a subscription you get your free subscription to AHL TV. Now, was that the full service or did that give you just your subscription for home and road games for the Monsters?
I don't know because I only ever used it for road games.
Okay.
I
guess you were at all of the home games last year, so I guess you wouldn't. That makes sense.
And I think looking back on it, Kristen and I only missed, I think we only didn't go to like 4 home games last year, and it's because we had other things going on, so we weren't even home to watch the games regardless. And then during the playoffs, it was on there no matter. I will tell you, for the playoffs, it was on there no matter what.
Yeah.
However, they also linked a deal with one of the local stations here. I forgot what it was, but all the playoff
Rock
games
Sports or whatever for the Monsters. It's going to be.
No. I'm talking about this past season in the playoffs. They were on TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They were on local TV for the playoffs. But yeah, for Rock Sports this year, yeah, they will be televised, so that'll be nice.
We are in a really weird limbo with sports right now. We'll get to that in a second, but I just want to close this thought on Flow Hockey before we get too sidetracked. I understand that there's going to be some issues people are going to take with having to pay more now for essentially the same streaming service, because probably a fair chunk of the people that are going to subscribe to this really aren't going to watch more than AHL games. So I get the gripe, and you can do a month by month payment, but it comes out to be more expensive if you do it for the whole year. So I get the gripe, but again, for a league like the AHL, any way that they can make money off of TV deals and stuff, that's good for the league. You just got to roll with it. It sucks as a fan, but AHL tickets aren't super expensive either. And I'm not saying you need to go to every game, but try and get out to more games in person when you can, if it's possible. And I agree, it sucks to pay more, but it kind of is what it is right now. And for those of you who are season ticket holders that are complaining about this, I mean, I saw a couple guys complaining that they're season seat holders and they don't want to pay more. But from what I understand, pretty much every AHL club gets you an AHL TV subscription if you are a season seat holder. So you'll still have access to that. You're not going to lose your subscription just because they're changing providers. So I think people just need to kind of see how this goes this first season. And if it sucks after, then maybe it's time to make changes. But just ride it out. Who knows? Maybe try using the platform to watch other minor leagues. I mean, like I said, there's like 10, 12 leagues that they host on this website. So there's something for everyone. You may find yourself watching another league or another team you didn't know you wanted to watch until you watched them.
And the other thing is, too, if you're someone on a budget, and I'm not knocking you if you are, I mean, we all have different financial situations, but if you're someone on a budget, maybe season tickets or television subscriptions aren't for you right now. And I'm not trying to sound like Dave Ramsey either. I'm just saying, it just is what it is. Our season ticket membership went up this year. I think we're paying $200 more this year than we paid last year. It's part of it. And, I'm very, very grateful and thankful that I'm able to do that. But I mean, if this was me, 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do it. I can tell you that right now. That's part of life, unfortunately. So
yep. Now I want to talk about, I mentioned that we're kind of in a limbo with watching hockey on TV, the NHL specifically right now. I mean, AHL's just switched to Flow Hockey, but the NHL, half the clubs are broadcasting their games through Bally Sports under Diamond, which has gone through, this long legal proceeding, and it's been talked about 1,000 times now. But a lot of teams now are looking to switch to either local broadcasts. I know Vegas has done so. I forget which other clubs. I think it's either Dallas or Anaheim or San Jose, somebody in the South or the West. That's I want to say I think it's Dallas or Anaheim that's broadcasting their own through local TV. But we're reaching a point right now where a lot of these clubs that broadcast through Bally are trying to find a way to provide games for their fans the best that they can, because this whole shit with Diamond is really kind of screwing everything up. But I just see so much complaining about it in Facebook comments and stuff like that. And ultimately, a lot of these games are available on ESPN Plus. Of course, they're blacked out if you're local. But there are ways to watch hockey. Even those of you who can't get Bally through your local cable provider or whatever you get for TV, you can still subscribe through the Bally app and get the premium version if you want to watch your team and only your team. That's what my wife and I do for watching Wild games. That'll actually change pretty soon, and I'll get to that later too. But you can subscribe to Bally in your area and get the premium, and you can watch all of your team's local games and not have to worry. And when they're on ESPN, you can watch them in the ESPN app. So there's ways to watch these games. You just have to it sucks as the fan that you have to search so hard, but there are avenues right now. And I don't know. I guess this is kind of my old man yelling at a cloud. But if you put the energy into finding the games that you did to bitching about it, you might find it a little easier to watch the games. That's all I'm saying. Is I've been watching hockey this will be my 11th year watching hockey, and I don't think I've ever once complained about, man, is it hard to watch games. I think I've always just found a way to do it and not complained about it. And I think you've done pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll do whatever it takes to watch a hockey game. So,
yeah,
and I have spent countless amounts of time frustrating myself and getting pissed off trying to find a way to stream a damn game in the past. So, but yeah, I think
this episode's really kind of been curmudgeon-y. We came on, complained about Flow Hockey, and then about streaming, then about the PWHL names. Like,
yeah, we're just. I mean, part of it's just I'm so damn excited to be back on here. I mean, it was nice having a little bit of a break, but it's just really good to be back doing this.
Yeah, I told you. I think this is when we were over at your house. My wife and I visited Andrew and his wife last week. I was talking about we've reached the point now where I'm watching highlights because I'm so excited for the season to start that I'm trying to get hockey any way I can at this point. And so we've really reached that point. So I'm with you on that. I'm excited to get started. I just don't know why I'm in such a complaining mood today, but. Here I am.
One of those things, man. There's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, very little time to do it all. So we should probably move on to.
Yeah, well, we got a lot going on. So another big life news for me. My wife and I are moving, and we're going to be living about 10 minutes from Andrew and his wife in Ohio. So a lot of big changes going on. But at some point in the near future, every episode of the show will likely be done with Andrew and I in the same room now, which is not something we thought was even plausible last season. So,
and life update for me as of about 30 seconds ago, my wife and I are moving to the west coast of the United States. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Not the guy that helped me look for places to live. That's
yeah. Yeah.
So,
no, I'm very much looking forward to it. So should be a good time. Not just for podcast purposes. That's just a nice
hanging out.
Yeah, it'll be cool. So I'm
Andrew excited. And I have lived apart from each other the last eight years and some change.
No. Well, you're not factoring my time in there. I guess there was a 2-year window in between those.
I'm talking about consecutively, though. You moved out of Wisconsin in 2016, and it's
that's true.
24 now, but that's okay. So that'll be remedied. So not only will we be doing most shows in person in the near future, but in 2 weeks when we do our Eastern Conference season preview, that show will be in person as well because my wife and I will be there to visit you and Kristen. So. That'll be pretty cool. We'll get to do a show in person. We've only done one other show in person, but it wasn't on camera because we didn't really have the right setup. That and our father was there, and he was being antsy that we were even recording the podcast.
Yeah.
So
I could hear him downstairs whispering, "What are they doing now? What are they talking about?" And I was like,
"Yeah, that's our dad." So,
all right, we can.
All jokes aside,
cram up here.
Yeah, exactly. All jokes aside, we're going to have some changes to the way we do the show in the near future here. Hopefully by the end of next month, but if not, sometime in November, December.
Yep, you guys have been patient with us all last season. Obviously, we're always only looking to improve this show in any way we can. So as always, we just request you be patient with us.
Yeah. So speaking of the upcoming shows, so next week we're going to do a Western Conference season preview. And then the following Sunday, which is the 29th, we're going to do an Eastern Conference season preview. And then the following week after that, we'll really set up the regular season because they'll have played some regular season games already by then.
Yes.
Because of the global series. But preseason will be completely done. We'll know who's injured to start the season and who isn't. So we'll kind of get a chance to reflect on the preseason and kind of set ourselves up and see where the season's going to go from there. Hopefully on that show, we can get Ben Polacco on to kind of do a night before hockey, if you will.
Yeah.
So
I'll have to reach out to him and get him on.
But that's just going to be kind of what's coming the next few weeks. Again, the 29th is the show we'll do in person. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, last time doing it on video is just not possible. The setup wasn't great. It was actually funny. I think I was sitting on an air mattress next to you when you were sitting in that chair because Rain and I slept up in the den that you're in or the loft.
Yeah.
And so that's just what we had for seating options. So we'll try and kind of straighten things out this time around. There'll be a little more space. But
yeah, we turned this place into a hotel for several guests that weekend. So the podcast setup was not ideal.
No, it wasn't.
We're good to go now. So
yeah, that's what's coming up. It's just some shows that we do in the coming weeks for those who watch on video. My video feed may not be up on a couple episodes in the coming weeks, just because my place right now is where my wife and I are kind of starting to tear things down to get things in boxes and put in storage, and so it's going kind of chaotic. So I don't know how my setup's going to be the next few weeks, but I'll be on video whenever I can. For those of you watching on audio, none of this truly matters because all you hear is our voices anyways.
It's probably for the better.
Yeah, it's a better experience, I would think.
I would have to agree because honestly, if I go back and listen to our episodes, I listen to them. I don't watch them. So
I try and watch them just for the YouTube view, just to help grow the show that way. But given my job, it's a lot easier to just listen to it while I'm working if I play it back.
Yeah. I mean, I usually, when I do listen to it, I usually listen to it just so we get the credit for the view, even though as far as downloads, we're doing just fine. But you always want to help your own show out. And honestly, as far as helping the show out, if you want to help this show out, all you got to do is, if you're listening on an audio platform, head over to YouTube, give this a watch for a couple minutes, like it, subscribe to the channel. The YouTube gods really like that shit a lot, and it helps us significantly. And I think that if there's one thing anybody who uses YouTube will tell you, it's that the YouTube algorithm is a pain in the ass to fight. So help us out on here too. Show did pretty well last season as far as downloads go. I was very, very happy with how this show performed. Far exceeded my expectations. That's been fun. So I'm just glad to be back for season 2 and see what happens from here on out. We're very lucky to have brought XenoPucks back with us again, and barring something drastic, or
They're not
one of
going
the
anywhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say they'll be with us till the end of time. So
now I will say we do have a sponsorship slot open as well. One of our sponsors from last year is not going to be coming back. So if you are affiliated with any kind of hockey programs or have a product you'd like to advertise for us, please reach out to us. Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast at gmail.com for any kind of business inquiries. We're always very happy to accept and work with any sponsors. But again, this show will likely always be presented by XenoPucks as long as they're around.
Yes, absolutely. However, we're always open to sponsorships. Lightings is back for Tough Look
of the
this
week.
year.
Yeah, we'll start rolling those when we'll start rolling those during the regular seasons when we have some content to go from.
You can do it right now. The Tough Look is there's not a whole lot for us to talk about this week. So.
The tough look is this whole episode. I feel like I talk to you almost every day, but I feel like doing a podcast right now, I just feel so out of my element for whatever reason.
The Tough Look this week is the Packers and the Falcons last week in football.
Yeah. Oh boy. I'm glad we're not a football show. This would be a way different attitude I'd come into every week.
Oh, I say we'd be on here pissed off right now. So
yeah. Well, given the two teams I cheer for, it's not a whole lot to be excited about, but
a valid point.
That's not entirely true. Just the result at the end of the season is usually what's exciting. Watching them is always great. Always watching. Let's see. Speaking of our sponsors, do you have your XenoPuck handy?
I do.
All right, why don't you go ahead and tell our new listeners about XenoPucks, because inevitably we will have a new batch of listeners for this season too, to go with our existing crowd.
I certainly hope so. So for those of you who may not know, Fresh Ice is brought to you by XenoPucks. XenoPuck make an off-ice alternative practice puck. You want to go work on your stick shot or your stick handling. Ice time's not always an option. Sometimes it's not always cheap either. So XenoPucks made this puck. I still to this day cannot tell you what it's made out of. But it glides on almost any off-ice surface you can think of. I myself have tried it on carpet, tile, or not tile, wood floor, but I've seen video of it on tile. Works great on concrete and asphalt. This thing is insane. It feels like a real hockey puck. It's the same size and weight as a regulation hockey puck. Being that it's not made of rubber, I wouldn't personally recommend it for using it for a pickup game. But as far as practicing your skills goes, I personally don't believe that there's a better alternative out there. So if you're looking for a new off-ice alternative, stop, because this is it right here. Head over to XenoPucks.com right now. Pick up one of these. Check out their merch selection because they got some pretty cool stuff on their website. And give them a follow over on Instagram. That's at XenoPucks, XenoPucks.
Thank you for that. And again, we spoke of them last season. We had Bob Pizzini on. The show is proud to share the work of the Warrior for Life Fund. So Andrew, I will let you go ahead and read that.
Yeah, so the Warrior for Life Fund, they are an organization. They help returning combat veterans readjust to civilian life, readjust to quote unquote normal life through the game of hockey. They have their own hockey team, the Warrior Ice Hockey Team, and they get these guys. Many of them are former operators, like special operations veterans. They get them out on the ice playing hockey, building that camaraderie with other guys, and they play against other hockey teams. They've played against a lot of NHL alumni. They're partnered with the Boston Bruins alumni organization, and they recently partnered several months ago with the National Hockey League, which is absolutely incredible. They just did a huge event back in San Diego several weeks ago, and looked like it turned out really well. And this does a lot for people mentally because it, one, reminds you you're not alone, and you're building that same camaraderie you had in the military, but now you're doing it on the ice. And it's just one great example of how hockey brings people together. So they do amazing things over there, but obviously it's not something they're able to do for free, and they do operate off of donations. So if you're able to and you're interested in helping, you can head over to the warriorforlifefund.org and make a donation today.
Awesome. Yes. Thanks to the Warrior for Life Fund for providing all these outreach kind of programs for our vets. And as always, thank you to any of you who are veterans of military service in this wonderful country.
And I just want to point out too, they do not sponsor our show.
We do
this because we read this off every week, because it's not even reading. It's me speaking from the heart, because we truly love this organization and everything they do. And being a veteran myself, it really pulls at the heartstrings to see how far not just the organization, but former NHL players go out of their way to help too. Again, like I said, they just do a great job of bringing people together. And I truly believe they're one of the best organizations out there. So again, they don't sponsor us. We just love them.
That's right. And hopefully we can get Bob on again this season to talk about some of the stuff they did this summer, because they did some really cool things with some former Bruins, and it looked like a lot of fun.
Not only that, Bob's just great to talk hockey with.
Yeah,
Bob's a great guy, man. So I would love to have Bob on again this year. And, shout out Mark Mowers as well. He sent you and I some pretty cool stuff from the event they did in July.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, Mark's a great guy. So, again, just not only is it a great organization, the people there are just awesome too. So shout out to all of them.
Yeah, Mouse sent us some pretty cool stuff from there. We got shirts and got signed pictures. He actually autographed a picture for both of us, and it's great because he didn't even realize this. I was texting with him because I caught it. In the picture he has, it's a really good still shot of himself screening in front of the goal. The goalie he's standing in front of is Carey Price, and Carey Price is what would have been Price's rookie season. And he didn't himself even realize that until I texted him. I said, "Oh, you're screening Carey Price, no less." So we went and looked through, and he goes, "I don't think Price would have been old enough to be playing then." So I went through and found old pictures of Carey Price, and in the picture, he's got his pads and stuff on, but he's got I think it's a Tri-City Americans goalie mask on still, because that's where he played as junior. I think that's where he played junior, but I pointed it out to Mao, and I sent him a picture and found a hockey card of Carey Price wearing the same mask as the one that he's got on in the picture, and Mao's like, "Well, I'll be damned. I never knew that." So that was kind of cool. Not only did we get a great picture of Mao in action, but we got him lined up next to a goalie as awesome as Carey Price. So Mao's just a really good guy. I hope at some point, I know he's busy because he's an NHL scout, but I really hope we get to have him on again.
Well, and at some point we'll get to link up with him in person, so I'm looking forward to that. Additionally, I want to point out, I can't really angle anything, but Bob also sent each of us challenge coins as well.
Yeah, I can see mine from where I'm sitting. I wish I could reach it.
They are extremely cool, out of his company iFly in Virginia Beach. So thankful for that as well. We've really made some cool connections through this show, and I'm just so grateful for it.
Yeah, we have. We've met a lot of really good people, and I'm sure as we continue here, hopefully we'll meet more.
I hope so.
So it's better than just talking to each other all the time. It gets old.
Yeah, it does.
When you're siblings, it's different.
Yeah, even though we talk every single day.
Yeah, so. Like for hours. It's a problem. Now we're going to live by each other too. So, just everyone to say, even if you're not religious, pray for our wives.
Yeah.
And yeah. So other than that, let me see if I got anything left. Do you mind while I look myself here? Do you mind looking up and seeing if we had any questions in the off season?
That is one thing I forgot to do.
Go ahead and pull those up here real quick too while he's doing that. Now's a good time to mention if you want to follow the show for more content away from the show, you can follow the show on Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. I myself am on Instagram at Brian Fresh Ice. I was on Twitter, but I am going to probably go pretty much radio silence on Twitter and only use it for following along with stuff because Twitter is just such a train wreck with the algorithm sucks. For when you're scrolling through your feed and just the environment is not great. So I'll probably only follow that for news, but I will continue to post on Instagram once we get going this season too. So now would be an excellent time to go on Instagram again, follow at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast and at Brian Fresh Ice.
And do not follow Fresh Ice Hockey on Twitter or X because we're not going to use it. Long story, like Brian said, the algorithm sucks, and the only followers you really get on there are porn bots. Can you even say that? I don't even know if I can say that on here, but I did.
You can say that on here.
Yeah,
Porn bot.
Okay.
We'll title the episode that. I don't care.
All right.
We will not be titling the episode.
No, we will not. I'm sure
that's a good way to get kicked to the bottom of the YouTube algorithm.
Yeah, or any algorithm for that matter. But I was like, well, we say everything else on here. But I mean, that's pretty much that's what it is. So I've never been a fan of Twitter anyway, even before it was X. So like Brian said, Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast on Facebook and at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast on Instagram. You can follow Brian, like he mentioned, he's at Brian Fresh Ice. I also have my own personal Instagram, but don't follow that one. Thank you.
I already do. Sorry. Should I unfollow you then?
No, you're allowed to.
Okay.
You can unfollow me.
I was hoping I had to get out of jail free.
I'm surprised that you haven't already with the amount of reels I send you on there every day.
The other day, so this is completely off the sheet here, but
I know where you're going with this.
The other day I went through and watched reels you sent me because truth be told, when you send me them, I just let them pile up and watch them all at once. The other day I probably watched no less than like 40 all at once and they were all ones you sent me. Yeah,
that tracks. You think you got it bad. Just remember, everything I'm sending to you, I'm sending to Kristen too. So she's on. If anybody knows your pain, it's her.
That's why when we come over, we hug her extra tight because we know who she lives with.
Yep. Hey, I didn't make her.
You didn't make her, but you could take it easy on the lady.
I married her before she realized, and got out.
Yeah.
So
See, that's what I did. So fun fact, yesterday I was marked 7 years since I had started dating Rain, who is now of course married to me. I got in when it was really good because I had a nice flowing head of hair when I started dating her, and now I have absolutely none. So I made sure I started dating her while I was still a looker, and now she's on the couch behind me, so I had to get a peek at her. I had to make sure I started dating her while I was still good looking because now I'm kind of a hot mess, but I
just want to know when you were a looker. I've known you for 28 years.
Well, not for nothing, but I would hope you never. If you ever were to call me a looker, I don't think that would be ideal. That would be a tough look.
Yeah, that's a little weird when it comes from your own brother.
Yeah. So, what you drinking there?
Just water.
Yeah, this episode is just all over the place now.
Well, it's the season premiere, man. We got to get line back in. And, the last one we just came back for was kind of it was a pretty morbid episode. So we got to brighten the mood.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? This is much better than some of the alternatives, I will say.
Absolutely. That. I mean, and that's one nice thing about having this, that we can just come on here and shoot the shit too.
Yeah.
And like I said, we have the agenda for our shows moving forward. This was kind of just to get us back into the flow of things.
Well, and that's the thing. I didn't want to just jump right into season previews after not talking on this podcast for 2 months.
Two things real quick. I just want to say, one, we do have a question. However, it relates to Johnny Gaudreau, and I'm going to wait until we do our Eastern Conference preview for the season. I just don't think it's appropriate quite yet to talk about what the Blue Jackets are going to do yet. That's just my personal belief. I know if it was my family, and maybe they're fine with it. I still think it's too touchy of a subject. So we'll do that when we preview the Eastern Conference.
Well, and I purposely did the Eastern Conference preview second to give us as much space between doing the Blue Jackets and what happened as possible.
Yeah.
So that's totally fine. We can wait to do that. Again, for questions, for those of you who are our regular listeners already know, but for those of you who are new listeners, if you have any questions for our show, please feel free to leave them in the YouTube comments or email them to us, freshicehockeypodcast@gmail.com. We'd be more than happy to answer those on the show. Any questions, comments, things you think of, if there's something we said in the show that ends up being not correct, please let us know as well so we can right our wrongs. I mean, we're not going to be perfect every time. Hell, it'd be nice to be perfect one time, but anything you think of, send our way in the YouTube comments. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, leave a like for us and subscribe. That always helps us out on the YouTube algorithms. Comment anything you think. And we'll be back next week. We'll start our Western Conference preview. I would anticipate both of our next two shows will be a little bit longer, so be prepared for those. Until then, we will see you guys in about a week. And Andrew's freezing, so I'm just going to say,
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, okay. I was just going to steal your line.
Convenient
that his internet starts working when I'm going to steal his catchphrase.
Well, before you go and steal my line, which I'll allow, but I do want to say in regards to the questions, there is two other ways you can get a hold of us for the show, and that is go to freshicehockeypodcast.com, and at the bottom of the homepage, there is a section for questions. You can submit a question on there, and it'll come directly to me, or you can email contact@freshicehockeypodcast.com with your questions, or if you're interested in being a partner of the show, or just anything in general. There's multiple ways for you to get a hold of us, so don't forget that. And we're looking forward to this season. Let's see where it goes.
Take care and comb your hair. God, I can't even say it without
cringing. Dude, it's weird. Here, let me do it. All right.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care and comb your hair.